Like an angel in the morning, shooting star across the night. The most beautiful girl I've seen in all my life. Every second spent with you is like a day that starts brand new. Girl, I'm so amazed at all the things you do. Yes, I wanna build my whole world around you. So I promise you forever and for always. Girl, you are my sunshine, baby. Don't you go away. I want me, all over me, or let me alive. I will love you forever. I want me, all over me, or let me alive. I will love you forever. I hear music in your words and in the way you call my name. When you're by my side, I can't do anything. You're my best friend, you're my lover. Without you, no one else would do. Through thick and thin, I know we'll make it true. Yes, I wanna build my whole world around you. So I promise you forever and for always. Girl, you are my sunshine, baby. Don't you go away. I want me, all over me, already alive. See, I will love you forever. I want me, all over me, already alive. I will love you forever. My baby, you are my sunshine, my lover, my essence. There's no one like you. My baby, you are my sunshine, my lover, my essence. There's no one like you. You are me, all over me, already alive. See, I will love you forever. Oh, you are me, all over me, already alive. See, I will love you forever. My sugar, my honey, my lover, I will love you forever. My baby, my lover, and my best friend, I will love you forever. I place no woman above you. I will love you forever. I promise to always love you, baby. I will love you forever. And there's no one other comes close. I will love you forevermore. And evermore. I will love you forever. Cause you are my baby, my sunshine. I will love you forever. And when there's nothing more to say, I will love you forever. Forever and like an angel in the morning, shooting star across the night. The most beautiful girl I've seen in all my life. Every second spent with you is like a day that starts brand new. Girl, I'm so amazed at all the things you do. Yes, I wanna build my whole world around you. So I promise you forever and for always. Girl, you are my sunshine, baby. Don't you go away. I want me, all over me, or let me alive. I will love you forever. else. There's no one like you. My baby, you are my sunshine, my love and my asset. There's no one like you. You are me, all over me, already alive. Say I will love you forever. Oh, me, all over me, already alive. Say I will love you forever. My sugar, my honey, my lover, I will love you forever. My baby, my lover, and my best friend, I will love you forever. I place no woman above you. I will love you forever. I promise to always love you, baby. I will love you forever. And there's no other girl to love. I will love you forevermore. Ever and ever and evermore. I will love you forever. Cause you are my baby, my sunshine. I will love you forever. And when there's nothing more to say, I will love you forever. Forever and ever and ever and ever. I will love you.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight. We'll be starting right away, and we'll be discussing the anatomy of relationship and marriage. And today we are looking at parenting. 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 You know, last week we looked at pressure and the pressure that people face in trying to get married, pressure that people face in their relationship and marriage, pressure that people face that makes it very difficult for many to be able to achieve all they plan to achieve in their relationship, and the impact on their life, on their health, and the stress they go through. But today we are moving on to parenting. We're drawing closer to the end of this program. From upper week, we'll be discussing predisposition, and we'll spend about 5 episodes discussing the difference between men and women as we bring this to a close. Youth of this generation are faced with the great challenge of choosing a life partner. Many are focused on practices and not principles, and these are led to situations where you have a high rate of divorce and paternity fraud in many marriages. It's even getting worse now. I was checking something online and I saw redefining marriage in our days. It seems as if there is a new way to look at marriage in our days. And the reason is because of so many things happening and so many things changing and making people to have a rethink about this idea of marriage, how we are practicing it. Maybe there is a need for us to redo it, to have a rethink on the way it's been practiced and done so far. Now, so the goal of this program is to help everyone that will be part of this to get it right in this critical area of their lives. You will hear some uncommon ideas, some uncommon information about marriage in this series. Please know that they are based on fact, they are based on research, they are based on scripture, they are based on principles, and they will help you align with the current reality of our times. Listen with open mind and also go back to check some of the thoughts that have been shared in order to see if those things were so. So then we are looking at parenting. Let me start by saying that there is nothing called stubborn child. There are only ignorant parents. There is no such thing as a stubborn child. There are only ignorant parents. That ignorance are giving some parents hypertension. It are giving some of them led to untimely death because they basically do not know how to govern behavior. The major challenge of many parents is inability to govern behavior. The major challenge of many parents is the inability to govern behavior. The inability to govern behavior is the major headache of many parents. So what we need to do is to learn how to govern behavior, to be able to ensure that the children go in the way they ought to go. He said, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. There is a way he should go. There is a direction you should show him to go. If you are able to learn how to show him that direction, then the marriage will be interesting, because some marriages were fine until children started coming. Some marriages were okay until the children started coming. And the children, instead of bringing joy and gladness, the children bring pain. 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 The children bring pain because they do not know how to govern behavior of these children. So there's nothing like a stubborn child. There are only ignorant parents. This is because in every child, there is an Osama and there's an Obama. In every child, there's an Osama bin Laden, a wicked soul that led to the killing of thousands of people on the World Trade Center, 9/11. And there is a Barack Obama, the first African president, one of the best African presidents in modern times. In every child, there's an Osama, and there's Obama. The one that you speak to is the one that responds to you. So there is a way to speak to the Osama in the child, and there's a way to speak to the Obama in the child. So the question is, which of these are you speaking to in the child? Are you speaking to the wickedness in the child, or you are speaking to the kindness in the child? A parent must know that parenting is an 18-year curriculum. Parenting is an 18-year curriculum. Whatever a parent is trying to do after 18 years is actually damage control. Whatsoever a parent is trying to do to correct the child after 18 years is damage control. By 19 years, you see your report card. So the way the child behaves at 19 is an evidence of the job that has been done by the parent for the last 18 years. As a matter of fact, that many of you as adults today turn out well in life is not because your parents understand parenting. Same for me. It is because you are just lucky because of your friend. You are lucky because of your school. You are lucky because of the religious organization you belong to. Not because your parents understood parenting. Many of you will agree with me that your parents, the only thing they do is just to beat. They really don't have an ideology that drives their parenting style. No ideology. Nothing is driving their parenting style. It is important for you to know that parenting is a science. That means it can be understood. That means it has a predictable outcome. That means it has a predictable outcome. That means it can be studied. That means it's possible for you to know this is how this child will turn out. Someone give a very perfect example. He said, if you take a child to an ISIS camp, or you take a child to be with Boko Haram for 5 years, after 5 years, what are you going to get back from the child? You're going to get a terrorist. The child will become a terrorist. If he as a teenager is with Boko Haram for 5 years, he's going to turn out to be a terrorist. So just the same way you can model a child to be evil, you can also model a child to be good. You know, someone was talking about a story of what is happening in the Middle East, that there are some people in the Middle East, particularly in Palestine, I'm trying to remember the name of this place beside Israel. I've forgotten the name now. But this country, I mean, fighting with Israel for many years now, children born in Palestine They will tell them, you see those people on the other side? They are our enemy. They are putting it in those children from childhood. So those children don't have any other ideology. Israelites are their enemy. And that was put into them from childhood. A child will turn out to what you want him to become. A child will turn out to what you want him to become. If you tell him this is the way he should do this, that's the way he will do it. Particularly when you model it. If you are not reading, you're always watching movie, watching film on your phone, and you want your children to be studying, you're wasting your time because they are monitoring you, they are watching you, and they are going to do exactly what they see you do. So if they see you reading, they are going to study like you. If they see you watching movie, even if you chase them away when you are there, when you are not there, they are going to watch it also. Many parents do not have a framework for parenting. They just assume that their children are going to turn out right. And I see this a lot in religious organizations. And it's unfortunate that many religious organizations do not have a plan for parenting. As in, I can count the number of times I hear people talk about parenting in many religions, and I mean many. Despite the fact that we're having big issue with children, many families are losing their children to atheism, losing their children to so many things. But churches, religious organizations are not seeing the need to take parenting seriously. So sometimes I'm not surprised when you see that the religious leader himself, his daughter, are wayward already. You know, there was a story of someone, before he got married as a pastor, and even when the children were young, it was very hard on young girls, teenagers in the church. But when his own children became teenagers, he stopped being hard on teenagers. He could feel it in the house. He could now feel what the parents are feeling. The parents of those girls that he was always talking against, as if their parents are not doing enough, almost even accusing their parents of not knowing what they are doing because of the way the children are behaving. But today, this particular man have about, I think, 4 or 5 girls. He has learned his lesson. Because he has not learned about parenting. He has not learned about parenting. People are getting married. They don't know how to parent. People are giving back to kids. They don't know how to parent. They don't even understand the concept and idea of parenting. And they have kids. We should declare a state of emergency in this area in our lives. Many people don't understand. Many people have the least faintest idea of what parenting should be about. And they are married. And they have kids, not 1, not 2, not 3, some 4 or 5. And they know next to nothing on parenting. They're just going to pass down what their parents passed to them. Shout on the child, beat the child. Many parents do not have a framework for parenting. This is because their own parents also never have a framework or a principle that guide them in their parenting journey. If you bring a child into this world and hire thousands of prayer warriors to pray for the child to turn out right, but you consistently abuse that child, shout on the child, malhandle the child will not turn out right, no matter how much of prayer you're praying for him. It is important that as a parent, you are a steward who has been given the privilege to raise a child you have brought into this world. So you are given the privilege to raise a child that will transform the world. So being a parent is a very good thing. It's a great privilege. But many people are abusing that opportunity. Many people don't even understand what it's all about. It is important that you are open-minded and ready to learn new ways to carry out an effective parenting. And for many of us that are here today, and those that will be listening in future, or those that are about to get married, and you are hearing this now, I'm glad that you are here. Why? It's better you learn about this even before you get married. So you are clear in thought on what you must do and how you must go about parenting. The scripture says, initiate a child in the custom that he should go, he should follow. And when he starts to show age, he will not turn away from it. Train up a child in the way he should go. When he's old, he will not depart from it. But another translation says, initiate. Can you see? Initiation. Can you imagine? Initiation. So a parent has a job of initiation. Initiation. Initiate a child. Initiation. Initiate a child in the way he should go, in the way he should follow. And when he starts to show age, when he's old, and when he starts to show age, he will not depart from it. And when the child starts to show age, the child will not depart from it. He will not depart from it. When he starts to show age, he will not depart from it. When he starts to show age, he will not depart from it. Just ensure you do your job. Initiate that child in the way you should go. Do your job, do your bit. This statement says initiate the child in the way you should go. Initiation involves a system of training. It has to be a custom you should follow, and necessarily the custom where you want or like him to follow. Not necessarily the one you want, but the one he should follow. That is why you should discover your child. Not the one you want. Not necessarily the one you want, but the one he should follow based on your discovery of that child. This means there must be a curriculum that must be used in order to produce the desired result. Your first assignment as a parent is to observe your child so as to help him or her to discover the way he should go. Do you know that when the scripture says that this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased, it is the end of a training of a child in the Jewish culture, when the child has gone through the curriculum, and then the parent can say, this is my beloved child. Because the child has passed through the curriculum, and parent can boldly say, this is my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. This is my beloved child. This is my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. This is my beloved child in whom I am well pleased. Do you know that when God saying this about Jesus is just communicating to the Jews what the Jew already understood about training their children. About training their children. About training their children. Many parents think discipline their kids. Many parents think they are disciplining their kids, but that's not true because many do not even know the meaning of discipline. In fact, it is said that many parents really never discipline their children. They only punish their children. They really never discipline their children. The word discipline is from Latin word disciplina, and it means to groom. To discipline is to groom. To discipline is to help. To discipline is to raise. To discipline is to disciple. So you can see that to discipline is not to yell. To discipline is not to change your face, but rather is to groom the child to be who you should become. Many parents do not discipline, they simply domesticate the children. Domesticate is from the Latin word domesticatus, and it means to tame, to clip the wing of the child. So when you see a child that is, you see some, have you noticed this? There are some children, they are well behaved at home, but they become wayward on campus. There are some children, they were well behaved at home, but they become wayward on campus. They were not disciplined children. They were domesticated children. So immediately they had freedom, they lose it. Because their parents never knew them. Because the parents did not allow them to express themselves. Your child should be able to ask you, tell him to do something, and you say, Daddy, why? You will say, Daddy, why? And I will tell him why. Because when he knows the reason why, even if I'm not there, even if I'm not there, even if I'm not there, even if I am not there, he now knows why he should not do that thing. You know, growing up, you can't ask your daddy why. You want to receive slap? And I realized that you can govern the behavior of a child. You can get him to do what you want him to do. He just must know that there are consequences for his action, not by beating, by withdrawing privileges. Not like not giving him food, maybe not playing with his toy, not able to play with his tablet, going to go and sleep when he wants to play, withdrawing privileges. You can govern behavior rather than beating the child. Because some people believe in beating. I will talk about beating later on, maybe tomorrow or next week. Next week on Upper Week. Because we're going to be having 3 sessions on this parenting. Please, if you know any parent, young parent around you, before they have hypertension because of their children, maybe you should share this link with them. Share with them. Tell them to join us this week, next week, and Upper Week. Tell them to join us so that as they go into the new year, they can begin to parent with wisdom, parent correctly. Every time parent says, I am going to tame the child, I'm going to clip the wing of the child, they are not disciplining the child, they are domesticating the child. Another word we can use is punishment. Another word we often use, punishment. Punishment is from the Latin word punire, and it means to inflict pain, to avenge. And that is exactly what many parents do. They discipline the child, they cause pain on the child. And they believe the pain is what will reset the brain. Some people say they want to reset the brain of the child. Whereas the Chinese, the Japanese, the Arabs, the Indians, the Jews raise their children to take over the world by spotting in them potentials, educating the child in line with these potentials, making them to become indispensable race. African is raising children that are raising their children to become independent, to be better than their mate, to be good-natured. Every parent wants to raise a godly child, a godly child. When you ask parents, he said he wants to raise a godly child, ask him, what does he mean by godly child? What he really means is a child that is quiet and obedient to his own instruction, even if the instruction is a foolish instruction. They want the child to be obedient to them so that it does not argue with them. Not because the child is godly, but because the child is not arguing with them. So let me ask you, who is a God? When you say someone is godly, what does it mean? What does it mean to be godly? What does it mean to be godly? Can you drop it in the chat box? What does it mean to be godly? Drop it in the chat box. Drop it in the chat box. What does it mean to be godly? Can you drop it in the chat? Let's be interactive tonight. Drop a message in the chat box. What does it mean to be godly? Yes, I'm waiting. Drop it in the chat box. In your opinion, what does it mean to be godly? Yes, I'm waiting. What does it mean to be godly? Because many people want to raise a godly child. What does it mean to be godly? Can you drop it in the chat box? What does it mean to be godly? To live a life that have positive influence on the society, to live a life without sin. Oh yeah, oh yeah. What does it mean to be godly? What does it mean to be godly? We are about 6 here. I only see 2 comments. What does it mean to be godly? Can you drop it? What does it mean to be godly? I'm waiting for others. I'm waiting for Mark Aiden. I'm waiting for Emoji. I'm waiting for Ola. What does it mean to be godly? Yes. To be at peace with God and man. You know, all of us, you are right. Only that you are just being religious in your response. You're just being religious in your response. God created the world. Creativity is a characteristic of God. God created the world. Creativity is a... Why are you not putting their creativity? Why are you only putting the religious ones? Because you assume God is only righteous. You know? So it means to know God and live like him. You see? It's still, you are not wrong, only that we are only thinking of one part of God. Why are you not thinking of other part of God? God is a creator. Why are you not saying God, to be godly, is to have characteristics of God? What are the characteristics of God? Creativity. Why are you not putting creativity? So if you say you want to raise a godly child, you are not raising a child that is creative, because God is creative. So a godly child should be a creative child. A godly child should be a creative child. So they just want the children to be obedient to their own instruction. So what are the attributes of God? God is omniscient. God is omnipresent. God is omniscient, omnipotent. God is omnipresent. Why are you not saying, why are you not looking at that attribute of God? There are some products today that are almost omnipresent, almost. What I mean almost, in the sense that they are everywhere. But those are products of human beings like you and I. Why didn't you put the attribute of a godly child to be these other attributes? Why Chinese, Japanese, Arab, Indian, Jews raise their children to own the world? Africa is raising their own children to serve those that own the world. Nigerians are the most educated minority in the diaspora, but this has not given us power because of the way we are scripted. The gap between where we are now as African parents and where we want our children to be in the future can only be achieved through intentional scripting, through intentional scripting, through intentional scripting. We do individual parenting without a template that will deliver a predictable outcome. And that is why children are always watching movies, cartoons. We want to keep them busy, send them to boarding school, get different devices to engage them. Why? There's no curriculum for parenting. Do you know that personality of a child is 80% formed by the time the child is 12? By the time the child is 6, and 100% formed by the time the child is 12. That means you have a lot of job to do before the child is 6, and after the child is 6, you have a lot of job to do to complete the scripting of the child. Scripting of the child. Intentional scripting of the child to produce a predictable outcome. The core function of parents is in threefold: to discover the child, to develop the child, and to deploy the child. To discover the child, to develop the child through training and education, to deploy the child to be a blessing to the world. The ultimate goal of a parent, therefore, is to deploy the child in a manner that will help the world solve the problem in the world. Please note that this ultimate goal can only be achieved not by beating the child, rather by intentional parenting. How do you become an intentional parent? By being conscious of what your child is doing, how he's developing, what he's watching, what he's learning. Now, let's talk a little bit about beating. You know, a lot of parents beat. As a child, I know beating does not work. I know. Because it didn't work for me. I know that, and some of us know that beating does not work. Beating does not work. Beating does not work. Look at the recommendation that an expert proposed. Never beat a child for what? Now, wait, before I go there, some people will go and quote scriptures. They'll go and quote scriptures, rod of correction. They'll quote rod of correction. They'll quote rod of correction. And they will use it as the reason why they must beat. Justina just said, it doesn't work. It only hardens the child. Very correct. Very correct. Very, very correct. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. These people think rod of correction is by beating. Is by beating. Anyway, if you want to beat, someone said it worked for some. No, it's not the beating that work. It's not the beating. You think it's the beating that work. Let me ask you, if punishment work, why is it that someone go to jail? He goes to jail for 5 years, 10 years, and come out again and still go and steal and sent to jail again? If punishment work, then thieves, armed robbers who stole and went to jail should come out and become a better person. It is not the beating. It is because the child wants to change. It is because the child sees other reasons to change, not because of the beating. So here are some of the recommendations. Never beat a child for what you have not taught him how to do. So why are you beating the child? Have you taught him how to do it and he didn't do it? Never beat a child for what you have not given the child opportunity to learn how to do. You have taught him, but you have not given opportunity to learn how to do it. Don't beat him for it. Never beat a child when you have no proof that beating will solve that problem. Never beat a child without giving him opportunity to explain what he did and why he did what he did to defend himself. Why did he do it? Never beat a child when you are angry because you are going to damage that child. Never beat a child when there are other corrective measures outside beating that can solve that problem. It is important that you say, that I say that we overrate beating because beating does not solve behavioral problem. If beating solves behavioral problem, then those that were caught and beaten today for stealing should not go and steal again tomorrow. They were caught today, they were beaten mercilessly, but they will still go and steal tomorrow. They should not go and steal tomorrow. If you speak to the king in your child, he will respond to you. When you beat the child, you actually speak to the wickedness in the child. And it's just a matter of time, that wickedness will come out. That wickedness will come out. Everyone knows that they want, everyone knows what they want their child to become. But not so many people ask themselves, who do I need to become in order to train my child in the way he should go? This is who I want my child to become. But for myself, who do I need to become for my child for me to be able to train? Because look, to train a doctor to train a child to become a doctor, it trains someone who has become a doctor to train a doctor to become a doctor. If you want to train your child to become something, you must first become that thing. You must have an understanding of that. You must first become what you want him to. You must become something that will make you EQ to train the child in the way he should go. Not many parents have trained themselves to become who they need to become, to be able to effectively parent their children. It is important to know that one-size-fits-all parenting style is not the most effective. You need to know the type of children or type of child you are dealing with in order to be effective. For example, your strong-willed child needs an authoritative approach because a strong-willed child is adventurous, is determined, is outspoken. You can bet that clash will happen. A more authoritative approach will work better for a strong-willed child. You need to be authoritative. Authoritative approach means you are assertive. You are not intrusive, or restrictive, but you are assertive. You need to balance your demand and authority by being more responsive to the child's need. Why is he doing what he's doing? Why is he doing what he's doing? Have you taken care of that? The child wants to express itself. He must be able to express itself, but he must not do it in an abusive manner, in a disrespectful manner, but he must express himself. That is where you come in as a parent. There are some children that are imaginative. Imaginative children need a parent that has a positive approach. This is a child that is playful, sociable, lively, and is a talkative. A permissive parenting style is not a good fit. It can lead to being the child body, rather, allowing the child to live as freely as he can or she desires. An uninvolved parenting style can lead to letting this child to do his or her own thing because the child seems fine without the parent's influence. But a parent of an imaginative child actually needs to use a lot of patience, especially if you are not the talkative type or the social type. Positive reinforcement with guidance is needed. Positive reinforcement with guidance is needed. For the sociable child who wants to be out there, there are some other children, they are deep children, very deep children. This kind of children need a thoughtful parent, a very attentive parenting approach. For detailed children, they are orderly, they are persistent, very respectful. The word you say to this child will stick to the child. So choose your word wisely and carefully. This kind of child is frequently found in deep thought. If you don't choose your word wisely, this kind of child can be deeply hurt, even as a child. An authoritarian parenting style can cause a major havoc with this child and his or her self-esteem. Then you have the diplomatic child. This child needs a selfless and encouraging parenting approach. This is a child who is considerate of others, is well-measured, well-mannered and controlled, adaptable, attentive. You can bet he or she knows when you are happy, he knows when you are sad, he knows when you are angry. This child pay attention to others and want to adapt and help when he or she thinks others aren't having the best experience. Sometimes this child does this at his own expense. A parent who practices self-sacrifice as well will make a great connection with this kind of child. You will also need to encourage this child to step out and do something outside of his or her own control or comfort zone, as the child tends to play safe all the time. Getting this child to step out will challenge him or her and allow her for growth. What all this is saying is that you must study your child to know, is he a strong-willed child? Is he a child with high level of imagination? Is he a deep child? Or a diplomatic child? Parenting is a lot of work, guys. Parenting is a lot of work. Unfortunately, many people never learn parenting. Today, you are an engineer, you are a doctor, you are a lawyer, you are an IT specialist, but you were not an engineer by default. You are not a doctor or lawyer by default. You can't be a good parent by default. Of course, you can't be a good husband by default. You can't be a good wife by default. The fact that people want to be a good husband and good wife by default is the reason why we're having a lot of divorce in our society today. Because many people don't learn relationship and marriage, parenting. And because they don't learn it, you know what? It's affecting every bit of their lives. And let me tell you, if you do not take parenting seriously, it might cause you pain, agony, sadness in your latter years. There's an adage in Yoruba that says that the child you have not trained is the one that will sell the house you have built. Today, we are so concerned about making money at the expense of training the children in the way it should go. Sending the children to school, sending it to church, it's not the training, no. You should be the one to have more influence on your children, not the teachers, not the leaders in church. You should have more influence. You should have more influence. And the only way that will happen is by you being involved in what he or she does. Let's round off here today. We continue from here next week. Let me hear from you. Let me hear from you. What have you learned tonight? What have you learned tonight? Let me start from Victor, Senator. You are the first on my list. Hello, Victor. Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
How are you?
I'm fine, sir. Yes, sir. So thank you very much for this seminar today. Well, I feel like what you said actually has been like eye opening to me, and it's actually like answered some of the question like I have, because I think even up to recently I was still, even let's even up to now, like I was still even asking this question that the Bible says that if you say the Bible is true and the Bible, the scriptures cannot be broken. The Bible says that train up a church where you should go. I mean, I've seen people that they actually train them, but they don't turn out good. That is it that
They,
something
they
must
didn't,
be.
they didn't train them. They just send them to church. They didn't train them.
Yeah, but I know that parents are like they are usually very they are they are very strict. They chase them, police them all around. So, and I feel like now that they are already grown, some of them were like some of them were like they were my mates in like children church, and up to now that many of them are already out of university. So I was thinking that these people would turn out, and there was even one boy. I didn't want to let me not mention his name. Like his mom is always like during church, always once we see her like this, everybody runs away. She's always very strict. Today, this boy he smokes, he go, he does. I was wondering that how can a child that was trained under a very strict mother that is now become so wayward. So and I see that
Being strict is not training.
yes, I noticed that it was actually not training. Maybe they were just being strict and they didn't know how to approach this kind of child, and like I'm beating may not even be like the way, because I feel like how come with all this at least she makes him go to church every service day, and I just think that should be enough. But seeing from today that really someone has to be very deliberate about parenting, and some of the things, some people that actually turn out good is not because of they did anything right, it was just because they were lucky, like you said during the seminar. And I was just thinking again that yes, you said many people don't know about them. Many parents don't even know how to train children. But I feel like parenting itself is like a course, because I
Yes.
see online people advertise that come on. So I feel like it's not something that is even readily available. That is not common knowledge. It's not something that you just pick along the line. It has to be a very deliberate effort. So I feel like parenting is a course, and not many people are even aware, and not many people even find it like important for them to pay. They just think going to church and going to religious organization will just make them turn out good. And 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 that's not the case. Then finally too, sir, you said talking about like different temperament and different personalities, that it takes very observant parents to know how to relate with like their children. And I think that's actually true, because um okay, let me use myself as an example. I hope I don't put myself in trouble. I know that when I was young, like I was actually like very outspoken, this and that. So and I went to because I went to one of our like leaders' house then, because during that time of workers retreat, I stayed there during like August holiday. So the man, the father there did not say something, sha. So me, I comforted him. I didn't even know what I even said, sha. So but when I was going back home, the man was reporting me to my mom that this child is too bold. And that bold means that it's like it's disrespectful, like oh they are too bold. That so and you know your parent now, they say a lot of things. So that actually really affected my confidence for a very long time. It's even until recently I now see that thing they said that they actually like weakened me, because I was just trying to be expressive and say what I want. But
Yes.
they interpreted that as being rude. So
Hmm. Hmm.
I feel like a lot of damage has been done unknowingly while
Yes.
they think they are raising us right. So it actually took me a lot for me to actually become um a bit more confident, or let's say to restore that confidence back that was lost for many years. So thank you, sir. This is actually like eye opening.
Thank you. Favor, good evening. I hope you joined early or you joined late. You know, I told you that you need to be in this meeting. Because
Yes, sir. Good evening.
your daughter, how old is your daughter now?
She's 13, sir. She's
You
13 years. Yes,
have
sir.
started the work. Oh. You have
Yes, sir.
started. And I told
Good
you,
evening,
is
sir.
she on holiday? I told you I wanted to talk to her.
It's true, sir. So sorry. She is in school, sir. But
when
I will
she,
make sure
when will she
yeah,
on holiday?
by 15th.
So maybe you arrange. I mean, he's becoming a big girl. He's going to SS1 already. Oh.
Yes, she's the next one.
See, 13 years, already in SS1. So you understand, it's a lot of work. Now you have a lot of work to do. Whatever you have not done before now, this is the time to do it. but we can always have this conversation. I would like to have a word with her. Go ahead. What have you learned tonight?
Thank you very much, sir. So clearly, I've actually learned a lot. When I came in, I think from the point where I came in, where you were speaking about the various traits and how the parenting style should be, I think, in fact, in time past, they've made a lot of mistakes, a lot of blunders. I can even see myself in the space of certain things while you spoke. But something struck my mind while you were speaking. Is it possible for a child to actually have more than one of those traits?
Yes.
Because
Yes. It can have a mix.
Okay. Because I could see some places when you were explaining about it, I could see my child fitting into a particular bucket and then fitting into another bucket. But when I look at the reaction from my own part, there are times when probably you would want to beat. In fact, my child used to be scared of be beaten. So if I raise my hands.
Can you remember? Were you around when I was talking about what when you should beat?
Yes, sir. Yes,
okay,
sir.
You were around. Okay.
After asking the questions, yes, sir. After confirming that, okay, allowing the child to explain. Well, you know, most of these African parents.
Sorry to cut you. Sometimes when the child explains, for me, sometimes when the child explains, you will see the reason why you should not beat.
True.
But like you don't realize that this is your fault. You know?
Yes.
Just accept your fault rather than beating.
Very true. But sir, you know, sometimes as parents, first and foremost, once you just see that that's not what you're expecting, or you're thinking the person is short of an expectation, the first thing that comes to your mind is the beating. The beating just comes like reflex.
Because that's where you were trained now. Me, I've trained myself. I've restricted. I had to deliberately ensure I don't. And my son hates cane like no man business because the mom still beats him occasionally. But I avoid it completely because there are other things I can do that I know will work. If I tell him not to do something and he does it, if I tell him he will not play with his toy, that's enough pain already. So where will I beat? You know, next time he can't afford not to play with his toy. So where will I beat? You understand? And the goal is to govern the behavior, over time he will get to know this is what he must do. So he needs to pack his toy before he goes to sleep. He needs to ensure he packs his toy. If he's leaving the play, must pack. So when he goes, daddy, I forgot. I saw you go and do it. Now he's now conscious of the fact that, okay, this is what he's supposed to do. That the fact that I remember, why will I be? You go and do it now because you now know this. And that's the goal, to be able to know this is the way you must live, you know.
Yes, sir. So I actually learned a lot today. Again, I also thought through and I thought about myself and my growing up, just like what Victor was saying. So for me, growing up, it was more of like my mom was very, very strict. So strict that she made it okay, yes, you were going to answer, but you were going to answer in a manner that I don't even know how to put it. So I'll rather damn any consequence and just tell it to you the way it is as an adult. So if you say, did you do this? I just say, I didn't do it. If you continue to beat me, I just say, okay, if you continue to beat me, I didn't still do it. You know, it's maybe because of her military training or something, it made it difficult. It made it come across like, oh, this person is daring. So if you just say, if I'm on if I'm doing the right thing, no matter what you're saying as an adult. So, but I picked something from what you were saying where you mentioned, yes, the child will express it, but the child has to express it respectfully.
Yes.
And coming across respectfully too, it can be in the African setting, it can be a whole lot because you can say something and you don't mean it in a particular way, and the adult reads it that way. So what I started to do personally for myself, likewise, somehow the thing made me to be in my shell. So I'll rather not speak up so that you don't assume something. But when I grew up and I found that it wasn't working, I was missing out on things. And because I won't speak up, the person will know that, oh, I could have answered that question. I said no. I said to myself, okay, maybe I'll do it differently. And what I started to do was I then started to consciously try to repeat myself again. So when I want to tell the adults, I'll say, why I'm trying to explain this thing is that I will now start wanting to get that person to the point where the person understands what I mean. And even consciously as an adult now, I do it a lot. In fact, what you touched on today on this parenting, as in saying that parenting is a whole lot and people don't even study or try to take time to learn anything about it. We can see it practically in our lives. So even in our interactions with people, there are sometimes I interact with certain persons, I'm like, how did the training happen? Because the reaction or the attitude or the response then becomes like, how can somebody act in this particular manner? So even today, even as adults, we can see a reflection or the errors from our parents, not from our parents per se, but in their parenting style that has resulted in the manner in which we do it. And I just pray that as we continue to learn and as we continue to build on ourselves, and as we continue to take classes like this, as you continue to impact us, we'll be able to raise our children differently and make them turn out better. Because in the end, it's actually going to even help the society to have a child that is not trained properly grow up into the society, produce another child. The chain is long, so it's going to be a chain of so many mistakes and errors. But if we're able to have individuals learn under these teachings, pick things from these teachings, and then pass it on to their children over time, no matter how little the number may be, we'll be able to begin to see changes and impacts in the society. So I want to say thank you very much, sir. And I'm looking forward to learning a whole lot more as
Yes,
the parent class unfolds. Thank you.
we're going to have 3 sections in this parenting. So we still have 2 more sessions. That's on the 10th and 17th. So I'm hoping it's going to be an interesting time for all of us. Thank you very much. Ola, good evening. How are you?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Yes, sir. Well done, sir.
Yeah.
I've actually learned a lot today. Thank God for the grace God has given you to actually be able to teach others seminars. But for me, I think the church actually have a lot to do. I don't know. I don't know.
In fact, let me tell you, they don't have a lot to do. They have so much to do, and nothing is being done about it. Sometimes I really don't understand. It's like we are supposed to be light of the world, solving problems in society. That means we should be seeing problem and provide solutions, but we are not, and we are not profiling that solution. Even among couples. Yes, go ahead.
For me, I think we have a lot of issues. I don't know. We have a lot of issues on ground. Like somebody like me, I started training children right from secondary school. I have a neighbor that she usually leaves our children with me, and I remember that during that period, I used to flog those children. Like, in fact, sometimes I can even use something to eat them, like when they do something wrong. But by the time I started growing up, I started learning some few things about life. So, which actually stopped me from actually beating the young ones. And presently, I have my brother and my nephews around, but I hardly beat them. I hardly beat them, and which is because I've actually learned a lot, and because I have the opportunity of meeting some youth that were actually trained, as in if you see their lifestyle, you know that this one they were actually trained. Like, their parents took time to actually learn some things. Like, their relationship with their parents is so strong, and those are the things that actually encourage me that we can actually have some youth, we can actually have children that will learn from us, and we also be able to live the same lifestyle with us. It just has to be something that we have to learn. So especially where I stay, I notice a lot of issues with parents and their children, and sometimes I try to talk to them that it's not about beating, no. But I noticed that in the church, we have a lot of things like parents. Sometimes when I even talk to some parents, they will just like, ah, in fact, I don't know what to do. It's like this thing there is like a problem. But I told them that it's just something that one has to learn. I don't know, maybe the church can actually try to find a way of introducing something like this into, I don't know, that kind of thing has been part of what I have in mind, that if I have the opportunity of joining the leaders when I grow up, or maybe after marriage, those are the things that I'm going to introduce, because and something that has to do with marriage and parenting is something serious in the church. It's something serious. A lot of youth are leaving the church. So in fact, some of them, when I communicate with some of them, the way, in fact, a lot of things. Imagine a student was telling me that, I think it was her mom that was telling me that, my daughter cannot carry handbag. Oh. I said, why? She said, she's not yet up to that age. And in fact, a student was telling me that our parents stopped her from opening an account, and I was like, "What happened? You are not a small child. You are supposed to have an account at this stage." She told me that the father actually told her that if you put your money inside bank, they can see your money. You know that kind of stuff. Like,
Ah,
I don't understand. So I, so the girl was actually working and giving. She now give the salary to the father to keep for her. So I told the child, I said, it's not only what your parents tell you. You have to like be able to also read and learn what is going on outside. She was not like, that was what my daddy told me. She said, my daddy said that I should be keeping my money with him. That when I grow up, then I said, okay. A
that
lot
that
of things
that
like
that 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 is a don't let me say what is on my mind.
for what me I can see there is just that the way the our home parents too, the way they were being trained, like their own the parents' environment also matters. Like that was how the father was also trained by his own parents. Like they don't allow him to save money, so he's also using that style for his own children too. So when they work, they bring the salary to him. If they want to keep the money, so I don't know. We just have a lot of things to do in the church. I pray God will help us.
Thank
But
you.
I certainly learned a lot today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you very much. Mark Edin, are you
Yeah.
with us tonight? Good evening. Mark Edin, are you
Good
with us?
evening, sir.
Good evening. How now?
Very fine, sir.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay, it's another interesting topic today. I think every time I come, it's always like being refreshed. So let me just say, for me, it's I don't know. Let me start by saying a lot of people do things without clear picture or clear understanding, and as believers, the the impact of a a miracle mindset governs everything we do. Just to quickly buttress the point my sister just explained, that we need to do a lot in the church. I think most even young adults, parenting is by miracle. You pray. Yeah, you have to pray. To be sincere, for me, I just look at things we pray over in this nation, in this part of the world, and it's actually nothing we should pray about. It's actually what we should actually get principle that actually governs it. Understudy the principle that governs this thing, and learn from those principles, then walk by it. Yeah, the church has to do a lot. The church has too much to even say they can handle. So if you are waiting on the church for those responsibilities to be taken care of by the church, I think we'll do ourselves more harms. So in your own corner, you can just start doing it the little way you can. Like I listened to the first person that said something about when I grow older or when I get married, I will try to be in the position of leadership to influence some changes. You can start influencing changes in your little corner out there. Speak up, write content, share it all over the world. It's just a matter of sharing the principles that govern those ideologies that you have developed so far. If to share is so you can always start now. Don't wait until that time, because while you are waiting, a lot of lives that you will have touched will have been impacted negatively or uh, different mindsets will have been built that is too far in the current age where we find ourselves, because we now have the likes of the Gen Zs who are even below 18 years old. From 12 years old, I think you are starting too late if you are just starting to discipline, like you define it, to discipline your child, to mentor them the way they should go. So it will be very, very difficult. Like I've been interacting with some Gen Zs, and I'm trying to, I'm actually reshaping my thoughts or my ideas about these young ones. To be shocking to you, I was with someone today, and this person has to be happens to be someone I respected anyway, and a leader for that matter, who is overseeing quite a number of youth. And in our conversation, I was looking at, okay, we have a lot of issues that we've been discussing over the youth matter in the church, and if we're discussing this matter, and in your own mindset, the only thing in your mind is the welfare of your children, just your children, and you are responsible for other children by leadership role that you play in the church, and everything you talk about is just your children, and them in the way we should do. What I'm saying in essence is that even the people in the church that you are expecting them to do the work don't know the work. So if you are not even in the leadership position, if you have an idea, I think you should do it the way we can do it, just like the way we are having it here now. Anybody can just, since you have this idea, do it by share of this weekly program. Like for instance, today, it's just because I didn't want to share it today because I had something in mind to share after this program. So if I'm sharing it, it will be like a disturbance for. I've always shared the program with all my content, and I have over 2,000 contacts on my phone. So some of them have even decided to block me. I said, well, fine, thank you. You blocked me for sharing good news with you. Then you are the one that will lose in the long run. So my encouragement to everyone is that let's do it. Let's share more of these links to people that will listen, even after the audio will be dropped on the group chat. Let's do that. And for me, I think I'm actually learning, because you can't wait until you have something before you learn how to manage that thing. If that time, it will be too late. If you start waiting until you are actually a parent before you understand, you know what it means to pay, I mean, to handle a child. Last week I was engaging some of the youth in the church, and I got to understand. In fact, I was just experimenting, like, how do I get them to talk? For instance, I gave them a sheet of paper, and I told them to write something. These people did not write anything because they don't even feel like they belong. And over the conversation, these same youth were telling me that they feel bored about the activities and the life. So I think most of the time parents want to impress on the children the idea they grew up with, which is wrong. So for me, I think I learned from you the idea of not beating, because for me, I've always thought of beating is a way to go, and that is a kind of ideology that was preached to us, that spare the child, spoil the. Spare the rod, spoil the child. You know, this kind of proverb being shared, and you know, the aspect of the Bible that now said that talks about chastening someone. You know, we need to get a clear understanding of the proper way to do that. So as you were speaking, I was trying to recap some images of some movies, foreign movies that I've watched. You see a white man wants to discipline the child. You will say, you just see him say, "You are grounded." At first, when I started watching white movies, I didn't understand what it means to be grounded. So at a later time, I understand. Oh, grounded means, okay, you are not doing. You are being denied of what you enjoy doing. That is another way to discipline a child from when he or she has done something wrong. Denying them, or like you said, you deny your son sometime of the need to use the toy and play around. Sometimes you lock him up and lock him in a separate room to separate him. That's called I can't remember the word for that right now. But then it's really a practice that we're learning to get into. For some of us that are not married yet, but for those that are married, I think they have a lot to do. Instead of waiting on the society is already messed up, and we cannot wait for the church. But then it would be beautiful. It would be a very great one, a great impact if the church can take up this responsibility, because I have come to realization that most people believe more of whatever they hear from the pulpit, from the man of God.
Well, let me say, wait, but that's exactly the issue. You get the point, you know? You need to understand how people might have been conditioned by religious leaders that they listen to week in, week out. And that explains the reason why they are in a better position to help in this situation. And the reason is because they respect them already. You are very correct when you say people should try to do stuff for themselves. We are very correct. The only challenge is that how many people, you have just said it now, you've shared this to so many people, they didn't even bother, they didn't even come, but you now said, but these same people are going to go to a different religious organization tomorrow, and they're going to hear someone speak to them. So if they are hearing that in those organizations, it will help them, because when you share to them, they don't see any need. But when someone that has someone that seems to have authority say, they think about it, which is where your leader come in. Because a number of them have been handicapped. They can't think out of themselves. They've been so conditioned in a very terrible way. So the same leader are the one that can help them. I don't know if you understand. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, yes, I quite understand that. Like, that's the reason why I'm even bringing this point to the last point for this summary.
Hello?
Because I've been related to me, sir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so for the fact that I've been working with people in my NGO, I've seen people who will tell me that sorry, I can't be in a meeting because I have one church activity or the other that was scheduled after the time that we have scheduled our meeting. And this person will just feel like, oh, whatever we're doing in the NGO does not really matter. Whatever my church is doing really matter beyond what we are doing in the NGO. And I look at these people and I say, wow, see the way the church has brainwashed you to think that whatever we are doing as human to other human does not really count, except you are doing it in the church. So the church really has a lot of influence, especially in our society, and it's really a war between the church, between the people that want to do good outside the church, and between the people that intend to actually do good for the sake of the church. So I think the church really, but it's a pity if the people that have been placed in the role of leadership in the church are not actually equipped enough in that regard.
But if you are not equipped, if you have a vision, because I feel the organization should be solving problems for their members. So for example, recently I heard of a guy who married, in 6 months already beating the wife, and he says to be a Christian, born again, in court, beating the wife. That guy does not understand what it means to be married. Something is wrong with him. So that is to tell you that, look, the people are not properly trained on relationship and marriage. That should stir up need for that kind of training. And I mean a rigorous one, not 1 hour, 2 hours, 30 minutes that we do. You know, just as signs. So when you see those signs, you see children growing up in church, the children become wayward. Those are signs. And this is a problem we need to solve. And then we can create program around it, get professional to be able to help solve that problem. But unfortunately, no one is thinking about it. You know, churches are only interested in getting people out to come into the church, but not thinking of how do the people in the church grow and become better person in different areas of their life, including their relationship and marriage.
Exactly, sir. Exactly. And the funniest part, let me use that word funniest, is that people, even the members of the church and leadership in the church, are beginning to realize that there is a problem for themselves as an individual. And they are beginning to realize that this problem is even is transferring to how much of impact they have on the members themselves. And some of them, realizing this, don't even know what to do, and in the long run just got tired of, just get fed up about church activities, and they don't actually understand it. But the top leadership will feel like, okay, these people, because they are not coming to church, because they are feeling like there is no connection between them and the church, or the messages they are hearing from the church, they are backsliding. No, it's not backsliding, but it's just that there is a problem, and whatever they are hearing in the church is not solving that problem. You know, it's not a funful thing for a parent who is a leader to be seeing his or her own child going wayward, and he feel pain in his heart. This kind of pain,
and he's not thinking of solution to it.
Yes, he does not even know there is a solution, but the only thing he was being told, or he has been told, is that he should just keep praying. But apart from praying, there are works to be done. You know, I was talking to some of my pastors in the church. In fact, let me not even go to the pastors in the church. I'm talking to youth in the church, because that's my own area of concern. Some of them are even telling me that even our pastor, our father in the Lord, you know, I don't want to mention them right now, but then they're saying even his message is not connected to them. And I'm looking at, okay, what are the problems? Because in fact, I operate in a different set of the youth. So this particular set of the youth, I felt, based on what is going on, I just felt the need to give them more attention, because I understand their perception, because I relate with them outside the church more than inside the church, because I'm able to do more than I can do in the church outside the church. So I relate more with them. But right now, the condition of things is even going beyond the youth, affecting even the adults. They are not feeling connected, because there are a lot of problems, family problem, financial problem, and all these things are all in one. Because if family is okay, of course there will be, like the other lady that said there's a child that the parent told him or her not to open an account. I'm like, not to open an account in what age? From the time you give birth to your child, you open an account for your child. And that is what we call kids account. What are you now saying, that the child should not have an account? I don't understand. People now even open account even before birth of the child self. So you are saying you can't open account. So which generation is that? I'm sure that is in the 100, maybe 100 years. Well, that is it. So right. This kind of message is just so fantastic, and I'm happy that I'm listening to it live and direct. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Okay, someone drop a message. So he said, how do we change narrative in church? You know, you just contribute your own quota. If you are not in leadership position, depending on the church you belong to, you might be able to contribute your own quota to help. But if you're not in a position, there's little or nothing you can do, unless you make suggestion to a leader. If the leader has vision, he will listen to you. Why our father protective? A father that is protective of a daughter is because the father was wayward when he was growing up. A father that is always sleeping with everything in skirt, slept with so many ladies when he's growing up, protective of the daughter. He doesn't want people to do to your daughter what he has done to other people's daughter. He has found so many other people's daughter and is protecting his own. So if you go and investigate very well, he's feeling guilty and he doesn't want people to do the same to our daughter, and it's going to make the life of our daughter miserable. Unfortunately, if that daughter becomes wayward, she can even commit suicide and kill himself, because the daughter can, because of that, become very wayward. But more often than not, if the father is overprotective, most likely he's trying to prevent people to do to his own daughter what he has done to other people's daughter. All right, thank you very much, everyone. See you next week and have a wonderful weekend, and bye-bye. Victor, you can call me afterwards. All right, bye-bye.